So I think there are two primary issues that interlink with one another in Canada, and specifically, which I'll be talking about. And the first is that of the farm income crisis, which is where the system is set up where the cost of food does not support the cost of production. So farmers find it very hard to maintain a sustainable livelihood, and in fact, 85% of family farmers actually have to seek off-farm income. And that connects to the second point, which is that of a succession crisis in Canada in family farmers, where the average age of retirement, or the average age of farmers right now is 55, and government policy still focuses on a plan of generational farming, when in reality, many youth are choosing not to farm because of the risks involved. So for new and beginning farmers, there's a lot of issues with regard to the neoliberalization and the corporatization of agriculture, and they present massive barriers to them coming into agriculture for the first time. And then with regard to what the organization that I work with is the National Farmers Union in Canada, which is a member of La Via Campesina. And what we are pushing for is a food system based on food sovereignty, not only food security, and the democratization of the food system, which also involves closing the gaps between consumers and producers. With regard to family farmers in North America, I think there's a bit of a misconception globally that all scales of family farms are supported by government and even subsidized, but that's in fact not the case. And what we really need to emphasize in North America is that family farms are not just an economic unit, they're a social unit. They play a massive role in rural communities, they participate in the solidarity economy, and they protect the environment in many cases. So with regard to what we need to focus on during this decade, we need to acknowledge that our realities are very different across the region, but at the center, the key focus must be on migrant worker rights and on Indigenous food sovereignty based on self-determination. And in order to realize this, we need to really focus on a number of realities that affect us all, such as seed sovereignty, access to land. We need to work more on the pressure of the corporatization of agriculture, and we need to push these into the pillars of the decade on family farming. Well, communication is extremely important, particularly communication between farmers and through a platform of farmer-led organizations, because it's within these spaces that we're able to collectively problem solve, we share solidarity, and we build our networks in our regions. And in reality, for the decade, I think we really need to prioritize the support for this type of platform building, particularly for youth, so they have the ability to share agroecological knowledge. And for me, as a young and a new farmer, having access to these communication through farmer-led platforms is extremely important, because that's where I am connected to the larger struggles, to the global struggles, the regional struggles, and that's really what helps push me forward and keep doing the work that I'm doing. So youth communication definitely needs to be prioritized, and also just general support for these farmer-led organizations to continue with the important work that they're doing. I think with regard to the global action plan for the decade, I think that it's very important that we keep it rights-oriented and not only on economic growth, because at the basis of what peasant farmers need and what family farmers need is the realization of peasant rights. And I think this needs to be highlighted in all the pillars and throughout the global action plan.